Stephen Curry is known for his incredible basketball skills, but what he said about his father shocked everyone. You might think you know everything about the NBA superstar, but this story will change how you see him forever. It all started with a simple question during an interview. The reporter asked Stephen about growing up and who influenced him the most. Most people expected him to talk about coaches or teammates, but instead, Stephen took a deep breath and said something no one saw coming. He said, "My dad taught me more than just basketball. He taught me how to be a man." That might not sound like much at first, but if you know the full story, you'll understand why those words hit so hard. Let's go back to the beginning. Stephen Curry was born into a family where basketball was always part of life. His dad, Dell Curry, was a professional player too. People knew Dell as a solid shooter and a great teammate, but off the court there was a side of him that most fans never got to see. Stephen grew up watching his dad work hard every day, not just on the court but at home. Dell made sure his kids understood the value of discipline, respect, and humility. He wasn't the loudest parent, but his actions spoke louder than words. But here's the twist. When Stephen started getting serious about basketball, he didn't want any special treatment because of his dad. In fact, he avoided talking about Dell whenever possible. He wanted to build his own legacy, not live in someone else's shadow. And that's exactly what he did. From high school struggles to going undrafted by college scouts, Stephen fought every step of the way. He worked harder than anyone else, proving that talent alone wasn't enough. Heart and determination mattered more. But even through all the ups and downs, there was one person who never stopped believing in him. Not his coaches, not his friends, it was his dad. Dell Curry never pushed Stephen into basketball. He let him find his own path. But when Stephen chose the sport, Dell became his biggest supporter. He didn't just teach him how to shoot or dribble. He taught him how to handle pressure, how to deal with failure, and how to stay grounded when the world starts cheering your name. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. During that same interview, Stephen shared a moment that changed his life. A moment most people don't know about. A moment that happened long before he became an NBA champion. When Stephen was in high school, he struggled to get noticed by big colleges. Coaches didn't believe in his size or strength. They thought he was too small to play at the top level. And for the first time, Stephen started doubting himself. One night, after another rejection letter, Stephen sat quietly at the kitchen table. He felt defeated, like maybe basketball wasn't meant for him after all. That's when Dell walked in. He didn't say much at first. He just sat down across from his son and looked him in the eye. Then he said, "You're not chasing their dream, you're chasing yours." Those words stuck with Stephen, not because they were dramatic or overly emotional, but because they came from a man who had been through the same battles. A man who knew what it felt like to fight for a place in the game. Dell didn't promise Stephen an easy road. He didn't tell him he'd make it to the NBA. He just reminded him why he started, and that no one could take that away from him. Years later, when Stephen finally stood on that championship stage, he didn't point to the sky just for show. He did it for the man who believed in him when no one else did. But wait, there's more. Stephen also revealed something else that stunned the audience, something he had never shared publicly before. He said, "I used to hate being Dell Curry's son." Can you imagine hearing that? The man everyone sees as humble, grateful, and kind once struggled with the weight of his father's name. He explained that in high school and early college, people would compare him to his dad. Some would say he only got attention because of Dell. Others would joke that he'd never be half the player his father was. At first, Stephen tried to ignore it. Then he tried to prove them wrong. But eventually, he realized something powerful. His dad wasn't holding him back. He was giving him the tools to rise higher. Stephen went on to say, "I used to run from my dad's shadow. Now I walk in it proudly." That line echoed through the room, because it wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about identity, about legacy, about learning to love who you are, even when the world tries to define you. What makes this even more powerful is that Dell never forced his son into the spotlight. He gave him space to grow, to fail, to learn. And when Stephen finally found his voice, he used it to honor the man who raised him without ever demanding recognition. So next time you see Stephen Curry lighting up the court, remember, behind every shot, every pass, every win, is a lesson passed down from father to son. And now you know the truth behind the legend. But here's the final twist. Stephen didn't stop there. He ended the interview with one last statement that left the crowd speechless. I wouldn't be who I am today if my dad hadn't taught me how to lose. Wait, how to lose? Yes, Stephen talked about a moment most people never saw. A summer league game when he was still trying to break into the NBA. He played terribly, missed shots, turnovers, embarrassing mistakes. Afterward, he sat alone in the locker room, feeling like quitting. Dell showed up, sat beside him and said, "Great players win. Legends come back stronger after they lose." That moment stayed with Stephen forever, because winning feels good, but losing, that's where real growth happens. And that's the hidden secret behind Stephen Curry's success. Want to hear more stories like this? Let me know in the comments below. Should I do another one? Until then, keep chasing your dreams, even when the world tells you to stop. We'll continue right here next time. Stay tuned.